We go where we connect the dots of business so you understand what it all means.
It is our hope that the efforts of the federal government to tame inflation yield desired results as soon as possible.
I am Perpetua Fasamipita. You're watching News Central.
Thank you so much for joining us on JASIRI, and we're getting straight into the conversation, but I'm going to hand it over to Blessings to lay a foundation for us.
All right, thanks for staying with us on JASIRI. Very, very quickly, I want to give a shout out to my friends. When you fans me, I see the love. I really celebrate you. I jubilate you very well. Do well to follow us on all our socials and use the hashtag JASIRI. Drop your comments, post, like, repost. We're not tired. I will repost. I will still poll mine and I will look at it. Thank you very much. And do also follow us on News Central as well, at News Central TV across all socials. Anyways, let's get down to the main conversation for the day. Now, did you know that cervical cancer is the leading cause? I think that the fourth leading cause of cancer deaths in women worldwide, according to the World Health Organization. And now, in 2020, there was an estimated 604,000 new cases and 342,000 deaths recorded.
Well, the United Nations also reports that in Nigeria alone, cervical cancer is the third most common cancer and the second most frequent cause of cancer deaths among women aged between 15 and 44 years. Let's take you back to 2020, where it was the latest year for which data is available. The country recorded about 12,000 new cases and 8,000 deaths from cervical cancer alone.
And as you may know, January is Cervical Health Awareness Month, and our focus this morning is on health matters. So joining us to discuss the intricacies of this preventable disease is the head of our health desk at News Central TV, Dr. Kelechi Okoro. Welcome to JASIRI.
Thank you for having me. You all are looking beautiful this morning.
Yes, such a beautiful smile.
So let's just jump into it.
Okay.
Because we just start to giggle and everything just goes haywire.
Okay.
Yes. How prevalent is cervical cancer in Nigeria? What are the major, risk factors contributing to its occurrence?
Okay, so it's really prevalent, like you guys said earlier. It's the third or the fourth most common cancer in women in Nigeria. And in women, it's the second frequently causing death from cancer.
And why is that?
Okay, because first of all, poor education, poor knowledge. If you don't know something about a particular disease, if you don't even know the name of the disease in the first place, you won't even know it's in existence. You will not go for screenings, and then it becomes a problem because there's late detection. There are no screenings, and funny enough, cervical cancer is actually a preventable illness, okay? So it's really prevalent in Nigeria, and it's causing a lot of deaths because of the low education. And specifically why this is, the risk factors is caused by an infection called HPV, human papilloma virus. And funny enough, it's a sexually transmitted infection. And the annoying thing about HPV is that you don't actually have to have sexual intercourse to get it.
Strange.
Exactly. You just need sexual contact. So it means that if you are dry humping, I don't know if you know what that means. If you're just having... Exactly.
I don't know.
So it means that if you're just doing just the tip, if you are just having sexual contact, just having, romancing, jamming your genitals together, any contact at all, oral sex, having your genital. Exactly. It's actually on the surface.
Seriously.
Okay.
I'm just saying, wow.
Okay,
No, because at the end of the day, when you talk about lack of awareness and education, this is the issue. Somebody will say it's sexually transmitted, and everybody will think it's only intercourse. But obviously, especially with young women and young men as well, because there's also a focus where it seems to be that the HPV vaccine, we'll get to that, is only for young women, which is not.
Okay.
Everybody doesn't have the right information. So I think it's really important that we're saying this with the right terms.
Exactly.
So that people are educated.
So it's on the surface of the genitals. It affects HPV is the infection that causes this, this disease.
Yeah.
However, it can affect the mouth, it can affect the throat, it can be on the penis, it can be on the genitals, the vulva, the vagina, and then it goes ahead to infect the cervix, which is the neck or the lower part of the womb. So you don't have to actually have penetration, and even if you have sex with a condom, you are still exposed to the infection.
If it's such a serious case, why are we still battling with the lack of awareness? And even for those who know, there's this lackadaisic attitude. Nobody wants to get tested. Nobody wants to go for screening, like you said. Stigma and things like that. And even people who are willing, sometimes people in remote areas, for example, those women don't have access to these things. So what are the challenges that we're facing that is making this very difficult to just get tested or get screened and even know about it?
Okay, so lack of the HPV vaccine. And of course, we're going to talk about financial constraints. Even if you know about this disease, you can't even access it because you do not have the money to. When I was in university, we were given a chance to pay for this HPV vaccine and also the screening, but a lot of us could not even afford it. And we are people in medical school who are supposed to even have money to do this. Our parents are in quotes, well-to-do, and we couldn't access it. And also lack of health infrastructure. Even if there are centers where you can do this testing, there are not a lot of centers. I mean, in the urban areas, these days you can get centers where you can do this testing. But in the urban areas, before you can get anywhere to even do a cervical screening, a pap smear, HPV vaccine, is hard to get there. And also lack of training for health personnel. It's not just any doctor that knows how to do, the pap smear, the testing. If I have to do any testing for any woman, I would have to undergo a special training for that. And we can see the brain drain happening in Nigeria. We don't even have enough doctors. We don't even have enough GPs in the hospital. Attending to patients. Now you have to have people who are specially trained to do these testing. So those are one of the specific reasons why, women are not able to get these testings done, of course.
So let's talk about something else, because we talked a bit about stigma, the lack of awareness towards testing and all that. When we look at the high rates of cervical cancer incidence and mortality in sub-Saharan Africa, Central America, and Southeast Asia, but unfortunately what we're seeing is it's preventable. I think that's what is probably the most disheartening part of the conversation. Hundreds of thousands of women don't have to die. Young girls don't have to get this. In terms of cultural and societal factors that are influencing the perception of cervical cancer among Nigerian women, what do you think they are? Are those things influencing negatively the fact of the drive for women to get tested, to even acknowledge that they have these things? And how can some of these barriers be removed, especially encouraging women to move forward?
For the fact that it is a sexually transmitted infection, you would feel like, oh, if I go to the hospital to seek for this test, everybody will say I'm promiscuous. So that's one of the things. And also for the vaccine, there's this vaccine hesitancy in Nigeria, in Africa, even in the developed world. So it's very funny where people say, oh, there's an agenda, to reduce vaccine.
And the peculiarity of our country. Sometimes they tell you that the temperature that they put these vaccines need to be at a level. And in Nigeria, you find out that sometimes these vaccines are not properly, kept at the temperature that it should be. So sometimes you actually take a vaccine and it's not viable because it's probably expired or the agents are in it are just
So this takes us back to the basics. Allocation of the health of the budget. We were supposed to have at least 15%, and then barely 5% was allocated to health in the budget.
Let me quickly ask you then.
Okay.
Do you think there's something more detrimental in terms of sickness to women than cervical cancer?
Or almost any form of cancer?
Any form of.
Please, can you rephrase that question?
Do you think there's anything more severe than cervical, or that kills women, or that affects women most negatively than cervical cancer? Because I'm asking this because I don't understand. We've talked about the lack of awareness, lack of information, people not even knowing where to go if you're seeking for the vaccine. And you go to healthcare centers, hospitals, and the medical professionals there are struggling, to come up with, oh, HPV. Sometimes you hear wrong information. Oh, it's not that serious. Oh, don't worry about it. Now you've brought up new information. It's sexually transmitted. In fact, you don't even have to have sexual intercourse. It is like pure magic, speaking in street parlance, meaning that, I just need to carry my yes and my no, and your no.
And just put it together.
Your yes meets my no.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, every woman who has ever had any form of contact with any man at any time in your life, at least everybody here, or 90% of every woman has had some sort of HPV infection in their lives. It's just that it's a viral infection, so it would naturally just resolve. So if you have a high immune system, if your immune system is strong, it will resolve the virus. However,
by itself.
Exactly. However, there are high-risk strains of the HPV virus that will persist without treatment. It will persist for 15 to 20 years. So something a contact you had like 20 years ago will come 20 years after to cause infection, to you. And then when it persists, it's, causes cancer cells and causes cervical cancer in the future.
Like, we've talked so much about all the causative effects. How about this HPV vaccine? It's supposed to be something that when women take, it can actually prevent, the development of this virus. But how accessible is this vaccine? And what does it actually do? Because I've heard that, it's only women that have never had intercourse from maybe teenage years that it would actually help to prevent. Okay. Why do we still have so many things surrounding this HPV, and the information around it is not just hitting straightforward?
Okay, so it's for HPV vaccine, you have to take it before your first sexual contact.
Wow.
What
in your life?
In your life.
Wow.
So at the age of 15, you should have taken your HPV vaccine.
Mommy,
because
did I take it?
So because a vaccine is something that you take to prevent you from getting an infection when it comes into your body. So that vaccine has to be there before you get your contact.
Wow.
Okay, so at the age of 9, that's when you should take your first vaccine. Now, imagine you come to tell a Nigerian woman, an African woman, you should come and vaccinate your child against HPV. They'll say, are you saying that my child is going to be promiscuous? So 9 to 15, at the age of 15, you should have taken your first HPV, your HPV vaccine. However, if you haven't taken it, I'm very sure that every woman here hasn't taken the HPV vaccine.
I have.
Oh,
I took only one dose.
Yes, one dose is fine.
Oh,
yes, one dose is fine. Yeah.
One dose is fine, even one dose at 9.
Yes, one dose is fine because we have 2 vaccines. We have the Gardasil 9 and the Cervarix. Cervarix, people don't use it anymore because it just takes control of 16 and 18, which is the high risk that causes cancer. However, Gardasil protects against 9 strains. There are a lot of strains of HPV. Exactly. Some cause, the low risk cause anal cancer, oral cancer. That's why I say sexual contact. Even your oral sex, you can get oral cancers from that.
So how about anal cancer then?
Yes, you can also get that, but from the from the low risk.
Sex.
Yeah, exactly. Remember that it's not sexual. It's just contact. Just putting your hand there and then putting it back in your mouth. Just putting your mouth there. Just putting your genitals there. Any contact at all.
Sorry, doctor. Do you know that I want to be corrected? I hear that this cervical cancer virus is actually deposited by men.
Exactly. So, no. I mean, it's sexual contact. Okay, so things have changed. We now have same-sex, and all of, but primarily in the heterosexual, gathering, it is deposited by men.
Wait,
so
how do they deposit it?
So
by contact.
So does this not make the case for young boys as well to get the vaccine?
I was actually getting there.
Let's go there.
Okay, so now in October 2023, the target was to vaccinate 7.7 million girls between the age of 9 to 14 against the HPV, right? Now, why are you not giving the boys too? So because there's, not a lot of vaccines, we have to prioritize in public health. So that's why only the girls have been given. But the boys should also get this.
Yes, they're susceptible to it.
Oh, but the argument is, if you protect the girls, then when the boys give it to them, they would not have.
They don't collect it at first.
Exactly,
So
but
the boys can actually get it too now because of. Who knows?
We can't even pay our doctors. We don't even have good health infrastructure. So in public health, you always prioritize. So priority now for Nigeria would not be
on the boys.
But however, these vaccines, although they are not so cheap, but they are affordable. So as a well-meaning Nigerian, as a well-meaning parent, you can actually go take take your boys to actually get these vaccines. And then for the women, actually, there's, you can actually still take it if you are above 15, because the Gardasil, like I said, protects against 16, 18, and 7 other variants. So if you have not already been exposed to other variants,
it'll work for you.
Okay. Hold on. Do pregnant women, when they go for their antenatals, I can't remember anymore. So, I mean, when they go for the antenatals, do they still take the HPV? Because I remember also babies, at some certain, as they grow,
they
have all these
different vaccines.
Okay, so currently, Nigeria has included HPV vaccination as one of the routine immunization for girls, just girls. Okay, so that at least before their first contact, they would have gotten it. And the plan, there's a global strategy, 90-70-70, that at the age of 15, at least 90% of girls should have gotten that vaccine. And at the age of 35 or 45, at least 70 Nigerian women must have gotten their HPV screening. Okay, and then at the age of, and then at least 90% of women who have cervical cancer must have gotten treatment, because that is another problem. So like, once you get cervical cancer, because the symptoms don't show, you can stay years and years without having any symptoms of cervical cancer, and the minute you get your first symptoms or not, sometimes it's incidental finding. You're already on your way to that.
Dr. Kels, we've been talking about vaccination.
Dr. what?
Kels, I'm not
Actually, that's what they call me on the internet. Dr.
Kelechi is just some, mouthful. Kels, Dr. Kels.
Without the Z.
I like the Kels. But anyways, we've been talking about vaccination. Are there any other alternative means to prevent this, or even to treat it, like lifestyle choices, what to do, things to do to, avoid even getting in the first place, aside the vaccination?
Okay, yeah, so generally prevention, reduce sexual contact, no sexual contact. And also zero sexual contact. We know, so reduce sexual contact, and then reduce your sexual partners, because multiple sexual partners is one of the risk factors, because when you're exposed to different people, you're exposed to more risk.
It increases the probability of being exposed to something.
And then smoking, there's no health benefit of smoking. And in HPV and cervical cancer, women who smoke have more risk of coming down with cervical cancer, because it reduces their immune system. And studies have shown, have connected smoking largely to cervical cancer. And also
Before we move from smoking, please don't forget your point. What about vaping? And I ask this because we have a generation of children who've grown up and heard that nicotine and smoking is bad. Then vaping has come into the scene as something that is softer and a bit healthier. So even when we say quit smoking, people still associate that with cigarettes. Does vaping fall under quit smoking as well?
Smoking is smoking.
Whether if you smoke anything,
it's good for us to make it clear.
Smoking is smoking. There's something in the vaping. You're not smoking, you're not vaping air. So it's one of the agendas of harm reduction, which really, when they tell people do not smoke, some people will smoke anyways. So it's just a way to reduce the harm that comes from smoking. But smoking is smoking. And then also women who give birth early.
What is early?
Early. Before 17, before 16, they are more at risk, because that means they have high, they came in contact early, and then also multiple births also is a risk factor.
Is it multiple births early or
multiple births generally?
What is considered multiple? Two is more than
five.
One.
Five, 7, and you know how we give birth in,
sometimes I just think that women, there's just no way out of anything.
It's so hard to win.
It's so hard to win.
I was thinking exactly that.
And then the problem, and then someone said most of the problems women face is associated with men, menstrual pain, menopause. Men are causing us problems.
That's why women, I keep preaching this, the onus is on the women to prevent this. You don't have to say, the boys are not getting vaccination, the boys are not healthy. No, you are in charge of your health first of all, so you have to take charge of your health, and you have to do everything to prevent whatever it's,
So I'm going to throw something out there, because I had these conversations on radio, and the response was crazy. We also have to get to a point where we have some kind of national sexual education program for our young people. So when we're talking for girls, it's not just about cervical cancer now. It's also about STDs. It's also about STIs. It's also about preventing unwanted pregnancies.
So one of the risk factors actually is when you've had several sexually transmitted infections before, it makes you more susceptible. So when you've got some chlamydia, syphilis, and the women with HIV also, it reduces their immune system and they're more exposed and they're more at risk of getting cervical cancer. So basically, it boils down to sex education,
okay, what would you say
education, early sexual health education.
What would you say that the Nigerian government is particularly doing? Because when I was growing up, a lot of times you see things about preventing pregnancies, family planning. This is as important as family planning. And I'm yet to see maybe advertorials or pamphlets or things, you know, talking about this education. What is the government doing to even help all the efforts that the doctors are
let me quickly throw in this as well. Please don't forget Lolo's question, but it's a safe, let's take it back a bit and start from the beginning. What are the symptoms that women should look out for? In case someone's thinking, oh, maybe I have it, oh, my left breast is paining me, oh, I'm having, you know, some kind of discomfort in my stomach. So let's just marry both of them.
Okay, so like I said earlier, there might be no symptoms at first. However, when yes, you might have absolutely no symptoms at all. But when the symptoms start coming, you can get painful sexual intercourse, pain during menstruation, bleeding outside your menstrual cycle, spotting outside your menstrual cycle, and then you can have watery discharge that has some bloody component in it, or just watery and bloody, okay? And then aside that, generally, cancers, oh, you look really worried.
She's a bit shocked right now. I was reading the symptoms, and it's just a lot.
And then generally, the symptoms
blood in your urine and your, like...
Okay, so those are the general symptoms of cancer. So getting tired easily, not having appetite, nausea and vomiting. But before you start getting those symptoms, then you know that you've gotten to another stage.
Wow.
Right? Exactly. So that's why you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait till you get a symptom. So it's simple. Of anything at all. And then particularly for cervical cancer, don't wait. Do your HPV screening, get HPV vaccinated. Yes.
So you can walk into a healthcare center and do that.
There are a lot of centers, like you were asking, what is the government
doing? I don't even want to say the center I took mine from, you know, the embattled doctor, the very notorious one.
Please leave it alone. Okay,
Please leave it alone. Lolo with the controversy, I love it.
The fact that he did a lot of
there was a provision for it.
I mean, the first time I heard about any center talking about cervical cancer, talking about, providing free screenings that are sponsored by individuals and government, it was from that particular center. So we can still give kudos to that center, because I as a doctor, that was my first engagement with a center that's doing everything around cervical cancer.
I think so. It's more about promoting health checkups generally. Whether woman, man, make sure you always check it, because aside cancer now, sometimes we just hear that people fall down and die, and then it's probably because of something small that could have been treated, and then it just escalated.
All right, thank you so much for that very insightful conversation. You heard everything that the doctor said. Cervical cancer is preventable and is treatable if caught early. So please, women, get your screenings done regularly and stay safe. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, it's time for us to get hot and steamy. We'll be right back.
On the go, live reports, real-time updates, unfiltered stories. I'm Bernard Akede. This is News Central.
Africa is rising. Again, we hear our sounds echo on the other side. Afrobeat and Afropop reinvented, hip life brought back to life, new energy infused into Kwaito and Kwela. Africa is balling. Every stroke, every shot, every raise, we find our place at the top. Taking the helm of real power, new hopes for democracies. A breed of entrepreneurial tigers, audacious storytellers, and a promising generation raring to go. Truly, Africa is rising. And this is where the stories that define our continent live. Africa needs its own storytellers, people who understand the continent because they're from it. People who know that news is more than just a conversation starter, it's our stories. Because these stories run deeper than headlines and segments. It's about digging deeper to get the facts and telling the human side of every single story, not just the echoes from foreign headlines and perspectives. It's time to take back our narratives and share them in our voices. The birth of Africa's New Age reporting, and this is where it begins, right here at News Central TV, with stories that put Africa first.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
On Digi 360, we give you a complete dose of everything.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it. Use it to take action. Digi 360, dissecting the issues.
You're still watching JASIRI right here on News Central, and we promised you hot topics, and we got into that yesterday, and it's going to be something that continues on the show. But today, the hot topics are a bit more than what we could take yesterday, and also will be involving guests, and that's where we're going into the first conversation for hot topics. Now, just last December, 3 students from the Federal Government College Ijanikin, Lagos, were placed on indefinite suspension because their parents took the Parent Teachers Association, PTA, of the school to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, for allegedly embezzling PTA funds. Now, one of the students, who is an SS3, said that a teacher informed him that his name had been removed from the WAEC NECO list, meaning that he would not be able to sit for his exams, simply because some parents are asking for accountability and transparency from the PTA. Joining us to discuss that, we have one of the parents involved and one of the parents who has a child in Ijanikin. We have Hajia Falilat Olushogban joining us, and we're going to get into that. Thank you so much for joining us, Hajia.
Good morning, everyone. Nice meeting you guys.
So what exactly is it that the PTA, not the PTA, the parents that took the PTA to the EFCC, what was the aim? Where did the issue start, and why did they have to escalate to the EFCC?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. How it started was the financial report that was presented to us at annual AGM 2022, we saw a lot of discrepancies, as in lots. It started with the salary, when we saw an increase of raised to like 23 million, as in from 18 million that they've been usually paying, and we now saw 42. What happened? Difference of 23. We were raising questions. The boss was bought 7.4 million, and sitting allowance.
Sitting allowance for members of PTA. Are they National Assembly?
Those were those were the questions we raised, as in who and who are you paying this? Let's know. Even in terms of the salaries, we are like, can you let us know our staff? He claimed, the PTA chairman responded saying that he has 69 staff. So we are like, wow. Does it mean the federal government are not recruiting? Why is it we parents paying recruiting staff? And the response was not encouraging. And parents, after all this saga that we are like, lots like that, as in terms of the prep fee, that the prep fee that we parents, years back, we agreed to be paying 350 as a motivational fee, apart from the salaries the staff collects. So at least an agreement from us, from the PTA we've been given. So when they came back, they wanted an increase that the money is not, it was later increased to 500,000. It was always an agreement. They always come back to the house, we deliberate on it. It's not a decision they take on their own without us.
And then just come to inform the house.
Exactly. So we have to agree. So that was always the routine of PTA. That's the way Ijanikin was always playing, that we are like, okay, it is our money, we decide together. But after some times, we were like, they said we had a meeting and we agreed that the prep fee of 500 naira per child.
Wow.
And we were like, God, why are we paying 500 naira per child when we already have a fee tagged? Okay, fine, no parents. After we dragged it and we were like, not forthcoming, forcefully we were paying. But at the end of the day, we're now waiting. I saw the financial period still reads that money we have, you understand? That is a duplicate, you understand? Then in the expenses again, I saw sports. To the school fee from the PTA, whereas the federal government has already subsidized everything. We are paying 1,000 naira per child.
So why are you levying us again?
Why the levy again? Yet, apart from that 1,000, the federal government has been made easy for us. They still make sure on resumption day you pay another 500 naira. Apart from that, 1,000 naira we pay every time.
Okay. 500 for what?
It is tax sports. I don't know.
You know, I know that when all these issues were raised. And I'm sure that before it escalated to the EFCC, there must have been something you did first.
Yes.
What was the first thing you did? Because if that wasn't, I doubt if you could have just gone from there straight to the EFCC.
No.
What were the things you did?
You know, normally there is a platform created for we parents where we engage them.
Like a WhatsApp platform?
No, it's a Telegram. Initially, it was a WhatsApp platform that we not migrated to a Telegram platform. So, and you know, that is the only platform we had to voice out and they respond back, you understand? So in the platform, we have a representative of the ministry, which is the principal herself. And we have the old student, the global old student association president too. She's present in the platform. So definitely we've been relating this thing, talking about it, and after the AGM, and it was not forthcoming, and the minutes, the financial report was adopted without us saying yes, it's an approval by everybody. We went to the platform to now start, you understand, since you didn't give us an answer, then let's, the next thing was they keep removing us.
Wow.
And the funny thing about that removing, they remove you not just removing your name, they remove all the conversation.
So they're deleting.
Yes. Someone did say that they didn't remove, they only muted her.
No. There are some they muted, but not, eventually you are removed. Because that's muted will be like maybe just for some few days, then the next thing you are off. And once you are off with all your questions, every conversation. It's as if you were never there.
Wow.
It's as if you were never there. So that's where you see us now. Why are you doing this? Even before we were removed, there were responses as in we can do our worst. After lots of response by parents that this matter might escalate to where you don't want.
Okay, so let's talk about the escalation now. You've gone to the EFCC. Is it a petition? It's an investigation? What was the response from the EFCC? What has happened in terms of this from the EFCC point?
Yeah, the investigation is still ongoing.
Okay.
It's still ongoing. It has never stopped. Yes.
And then jumping from, from the school to the EFCC, what happened to the Ministry of Education?
We wrote Ministry of Education, at least there was some follow-up. We were doing it. We were taking it there. But get to a point that when we follow up this letter from the minister, the former minister we wrote, we didn't get anything. The new one came in 2 weeks after he came into office. We moved in. At least not just that we are fighting a fight that we are not getting them involved. We are not getting response though, but at least let's keep trying.
Let's show that we've tried to follow the right path.
And we kept sending a reminder, which they acknowledged for us. You understand? We were following up. But the
was
thing,
slow.
It was slow, and apart from it being slow, it gets to a table that nothing happens.
Okay.
And that table is for director of senior secondary school, Ajia Binta Abdul Kadri. It gets to our table, we don't get anything again.
So we're going to reach out to her because this is an indictment of the ministry, an indictment of her responsibility in holding that position. We're going to reach out to her
because
and
we
see if
kept
she can give
following
us
up.
a
We
response.
did that. We made sure we got to the ministry.
I even want to know now, because now it's become like, okay, the sins of the father are being borne by the children.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, how did it move
why are the children being victimized? If all their fees are paid and everything they should do to make them students in the school, why are they removing their names from the NECO WAEC list?
Before we get there, let's ask you, ma'am, before we get there. How did they inform you that they were taking your children or your wards out of the list to write exams?
Yes,
because
last section, when they were writing their promotional exam, my son was in SS2 then. Then the other children were in SS1. The barrister zone was in SS3 as at that time.
Ready to
move out. So already started preparing for the exam. So I think they were called. There was a call to us by one the vice principal's student affairs. She made a call to me and was like, Madam Elisha, you need to come and pick your child from school. The ministry asked him to step out from the examination. I said, what? I said, if you dare touch my child, he's writing his promotional exam and disturbing him psychologically. If I hear that he's disturbed psychologically, I'm going to sue the whole school. That was a statement I made for her on the phone. I have a record to that. I had a record to that. So after that, again, the next thing was the resumption day. When we noticed, after that, we noticed the portal were blocked.
Wow.
Luckily, I was able to get a hard copy of remitter payments for his own. If not, I wouldn't have been able to pay. Other parents, one of them, up till now, the boy is still at home as I speak.
Wow.
He is unable to get his portal open to get his results that the parents can move him to another school pending all this matter. We wrote letters severally, it was not forthcoming. So on resumption day, when my son was supposed to resume, we were told we can't go in or something like that. The boy went with his normal cleaning materials. He was now told, because he was vouching for a post of a prefect, and normally they coordinate, they serve as coordinators. So on getting to the point, because there's a place where we parents stays and we were outside. So he came back and was like, I saw you, said, Mommy, they said my name has been removed from the prefect's list. That's why should I bring coordinators that I should go and get? I said, get another one. Why will I get another one? Why are they telling you this? What are they doing?
Yeah, what
the boy was emotionally down.
It's going to affect. So, I need to ask, what do you think they're trying to cover up? If you're asking questions about increases in staff salaries, sitting allowances, PTA is a voluntary organization. You want to be involved and you want to do better for your child's school. So what do you think they're trying to cover up? Is this about embezzlement and fraud?
I take it to be the first time this has happened with them, or it has been a recurring thing?
I can't. It's been we've been hearing some things, but this one really it is because by going to the children. And this particular boy, my son, has been doing well. Attended last year, they won lots of medals for the school because he's club member. He's in a robotic and coding. And they were able to badge some gifts worth 3 million, and they were first and second in the federation, and they badged 3rd position in Africa.
Wow.
This recently again for this year, they went in for another one again. They came back from Enugu on a Sunday, and I was called a day after the left, which was on Thursday, and that my attention was needed in the school. I said, what for? I was even scared because I thought something had happened. Do you understand? Somebody that told me he's going to Enugu, and was like, they said, no problem. I said, what happened? Has my son done anything? I was told no. I said, okay, I'll be there. I'll be there. But I am not coming now. I have programmed myself this end of the year. I have lots of things I'm doing the financial year that I need to tackle with my clients. But I have programmed myself. I'm coming to pick my child on vacation the visit in a few days' time. So on a day before that time, he came back on Sunday. On a Monday morning, after a boy like that, from what he has done for the school, and a teacher, Mr. Laide, called him and was like, your name has been removed from the WAEC class. God, I was...
Okay. Wait, I want to quickly ask this, because I hear that when they asked the PTA chairman, he did say, I mean, it's no news that majority carries the vote, but he did say that in that meeting, the minority had a say, but majority, had their way. Is that true? Are there some parents who were in agreement?
Nothing like majority had it, because that point, parents were like, no, let's vote.
And the vote didn't happen.
It didn't happen. The next thing, you can imagine they were now calling, somebody now came up, adopted it, and that was why we moved to the platform.
And then from the platform, they tried to ban you.
Exactly.
And then you've written to the ministry, no recollection, no nothing.
Invited us, we were there, and it was like either you remove this matter from EFCC or you take your child away. The principal, the new principal.
Then if you want to take your child away, they should allow you to take your child away, not blocking the children. Hajia, we're going to follow this up very closely, and as you said that you've mentioned a number of individuals, we're going to reach out to them, particularly the individual at the ministry as well, who's responsible for secondary school education and things like that. And we would love to hear from the federal government, the Ministry of Education, in response to that. So we're going to reach out and follow up on this story very closely. We hope for a resolution that does not involve bringing the children in. Whatever the issues may be, the children should remain out of it.
It shouldn't have to suffer.
That was what we told them. Leave the children out of more. And this particular one that he's supposed to write his exam, telling him his name is removed from the way after we have
already destabilized.
The boy is still at home now. There is no amount of abuse of power. Asking me when am I going to school. He's writing his wife. They should just allow this boy
to write.
He's been a wonderful boy. They should just allow him, please.
And we're going to take a quick time out on JASIRI. When we come back, we'll be wrapping up the show.
Of news on the continent, engaging in an analytical report. Resident doctors in Nigeria commenced a 5-day warning strike. Queues have hit the major cities in Nigeria, bringing you authentic stories as they happen. I am Adeshewa Olusoga. This is News Central.
We're wrapping up JASIRI now, but I would love to hear all of the ladies' takeaways from the conversations we've had today. Catherine was shook when it started with, of course, the conversation around cervical cancer. So let's start from there. Your takeaways on that, and the last conversation we had with Hajia.
Yes, I think both were just, I don't like injustice in any way. I'm not talking just political, but when you have to put children in the midst of all your dirty fighting, for me, that's so low. Why are you abusing the power that you have? You're in that position today. Tomorrow, what's to say that you're not there anymore? And you will be in a position where you also need somebody to do something for you. If you're fighting, the parents are just demanding for accountability. As in, let's keep it as basic as possible. Parents are demanding for accountability. Why don't you give it to them? You come up with a bogus amount of money and parents are questioning and you say they don't have a right to question. I think that's unfair. For cervical cancer, I think a lot of people are in the dark as to cervical cancer and the extent to which it affects women. And truly, as we're talking, behind the cameras, I'm not laughing now. We're talking behind the cameras, we're saying that women, we just can't seem to win. You do your best, but there's just something attacking from somewhere. You have to always be on your tiptoes to be able to, get in front of it all. But, if I'm surprised and I learned something today, I can't imagine what you out there have learned also on JASIRI.
Lessons.
Well, again, I'm not trying to be feminist or anything, but anybody that asks a lady what you bring to the table deserves to be flogged because of, looking at all this trouble the women are going through and all that. Look, I'm not even going to go into that. Yeah. But again, right, talking about the injustice in the second conversation, it's just so disheartening that people feel like they can sit somewhere and have the God complex over someone else's life because you feel like they cannot do anything. And I do blame the messed up society, because if you know that you're accountable for everything you do and then they will hold you accountable and you will pay for it, then you be careful what you do, what you dish out. So it's just very annoying, honestly.
For me, cervical cancer, I think we need more education. We have to just do our best individually because you can't trust everything to the government to do. I think this is something NGOs and some non-governmental organizations should please take up to do more awareness. At least, let's just get the knowledge out there so that a lot of women can be prevented or can be protected. And for the Ijanikin story, honestly, I'm a parent myself, and it's very disheartening. It's near I feel like crying because imagine that boy that is preparing for WAEC. He doesn't even know what's happening. And their parents have done nothing wrong except to ask for accountability and explanation on what's going on. And this is now their children are having to bear the consequence of what they didn't even cause at all. Honestly, the federal government and the Ministry of Education should please help us to wade into this conversation or into this situation and right the wrong as it is.
And for me, I'll just say with the cervical cancer situation, I'm a huge proponent of sex education awareness. We cannot hide our heads in the sand. Our children, especially in the days of social media, know a lot more than many of us know. I have an 8-year-old girl. The questions I hear, sometimes I'm shook, and my husband is shook with me. And I've said it, when she turns 9, she's going to go and get the HPV vaccine. I've never had it, so we'll probably go and get it together as well. And to the injustice, the situation in Ijanikin, it was Boris Oshoma that said it, Nigerians don't hate the oppressor. They hate the fact that they're not in the situation to oppress. Yes. And what we find is that Nigerians, wherever you give them a small amount of power, as Blessing said, they have this God complex. And we need to stop it because it's not helping our society. You are an educator. You have custodial oversight and responsibility for these children, and parents asking you for accountability and transparency does not give you any right to transfer that frustration and that upset to the children. Children should always remain off limits, and interrupting their education for something like this is a failure. And I also blame the Ministry of Education for not stepping in and handling this situation as it should be handled. We will follow up very closely with what's going on in Ijanikin, and we'll give you updates as we get them as well. That's all we can take on JASIRI today. As always, thank you so much. Hashtag is JASIRI at News Central TV. Follow us. And of course, 10 a.m. West African time, we have a date.
I don't even know if I can eat. I'm so angry.
I'm so upset. I'm so upset.
I'm upset.
Trust me, I'm very upset.